So what does plumbing have to do with dealing with a control freak? I think we can answer that today. Control freaks. Okay, let's be honest as we get started on how to deal with a control freak. Is it you? Sorry, I know I tick people off all the time when I illuminate things to them that they didn't want to see, but honestly, as we talk about this topic, just check and see how much of this is riding on you. Is it you that wants the control? I say that because a lot of times the things that annoy us the most about other people are things that maybe we could be working on ourselves. So I'm opening up with that disclaimer, and I know we're gonna have 10 people unsubscribe because of that, but just be honest with yourself, okay? Because if there's some element of control freakishness inside of you that has you asking the question in the first place, then looking at that is going to serve you very well. Now, having said that, let's talk about some ways to deal with all of those control freaks out there, because we know that they're all worse than us, right? Here's my thought. Control, first of all, why do people want control? Control is basically synonymous with freedom. We all want control over our own lives, right? We want to be able to choose and direct our life. What gets tricky about control is everybody else that has their freedom and they're exercising it in a way that may impinge on or restrict our own control, right? Okay, so that's where control battles come into play. I have to tell you about an experience I had several years ago. I was doing a home improvement project in my house that required some plumbing. Now, I'm a psychologist, I'm not a plumber. They both start with P, but that's kind of where the similarities end, I thought. Until I got into this project, and as I was trying to figure out how to accomplish this little plumbing thing that I needed to do, it wasn't huge or major, I'm gonna call it professional for those things, but a little project that I needed some help with. So I called up my dad. My dad knows everything, like most dads. And as I gave Dad a call, his experience included some plumbing, and he had enough wisdom that he could counsel with me. And he said, Paul, there's really only two things you need to know about plumbing. There are two basic rules to plumbing. Oh, I'm interested. Tell me. Enlighten me. He says, okay, rule number one, water runs downhill. Okay, awesome. Kind of already knew that, but it's good to remember that if you're installing a drain pipe. Water runs downhill. Got it, Dad. What's the second rule? Rule number two, don't lick your fingers. Okay, I laughed. He was kind of being funny, but that's a good rule. If you've ever installed a toilet, you know what we're talking about here. Water runs downhill. Don't lick your fingers. As long as you know those two things, you can handle this basic plumbing job. Well, because I'm a psychologist, I have to apply everything to psychology. So I'm looking at these rules of plumbing and I'm realizing, you know what? That has everything to do with dealing with a control freak. Why? Because there's two rules to psychology, all right? Rule number one, this is the water runs downhill rule. Rule number one, some things you control, other things you don't. Got it? That seems so obvious. It's just like gravity. You never get up in the morning and think, I wonder if gravity's on today. It always is, and it always affects you. And in the same way, some things you control, other things you don't. Whether you believe that or not is irrelevant. It's true. Rule number two, and this is the don't lick your fingers rule. Pay attention to the things that you do control, all right? That's all you need to know. Some things you control, other things you don't. Pay attention to the things that you do and be wise enough to know the difference. I meet with parents a lot, and I want to give you an example from parenting, because as parents come to my office and talk about the things that are bothering them, they usually make a whole list of things that they don't control, like their kids' behaviors. Do you control that as a parent? No, but that's what you're concerned about, right? My kids' grades, my kids' choice of friends, my kids' choice of activities, whether my kid is using substances or not, whether my kid is suicidal or not, what kind of music my kids listen to. Do you see how all of these things are controlled by the kid? not the parent. Well, what's on the parent's list? What does a parent control about their kid's life? This is where a lot of parents are like, I got nothing. You got something. Be clear about what it is that you control. What do you control? Okay, well, let's make a little list, because usually parents in my office at this point are a little flustered. They're like, I don't know. You control your own attitude and behavior. True? Yes, you do. You control your own language. You control your own life. Okay, and by now parents are like, yeah, but what does that have to do with my kid? Well, it has everything to do with it, because how you show up is going to determine your level of influence. But not only that, it controls your experience in life. You want to have a better life? Get focused on your own list. Now, here's where it interacts with your child's list really nicely. You control as a parent. Now, I'm talking parenting, but keep in your mind, what does this have to do with a control freak that I'm working with on the board or at the office or in the community? Okay, just keep that in the back of your mind for a minute. You control what you provide. Now, that is huge. Okay? In the kids example, it's especially obvious. You provide goods and services and access to all kinds of things. You control things that you do for them, right? You control all of that. They don't. Now, what are your kids worried about? Are they worried about all the stuff on their list? No, they're worried about the stuff on your list. That's good news. And it ties into the 3 rules that I'm going to give you next for a control battle. Because when we're dealing with a control freak, we often find ourselves in a control battle, right? So 3 rules for you. Here we go. Rule number 1, avoid them, not your kids, not your boss, not that control freak. I mean, avoid the power struggles. Don't get into them if you don't have to. Make sure as you look at that hill that you're willing to die on that hill before you march up it. Pick your battles wisely, okay? And avoid those control battles if you can. That's rule number 1. Rule number 2, if you can't avoid them, win them. You like that rule? Yeah, I want you to win. Incidentally, I tell teenagers the same thing here in my office. I tell them, avoid the control battles with your parents, but if you can't avoid them, you win them. By now, the parents are like, dude, we're the ones that are paying you. But I'm giving them the same advice. Avoid the control battles. If you can't avoid them, win them. Now, how do you do that? Rule number 3, you pick the issues. And you do this by selecting something from your own list. Do not get into a control battle with a control freak or anyone else over something that's on their list. Why? Because you can't keep rule number 2. You will not win that battle if you don't control it. So you always pick something from your own list. And that way you can ensure that you're going to win that control battle. Okay, so you want an example? Let's stay with the parenting theme, because that, honestly, that's where most of the control battles happen, okay, in my experience. And I got a lot of experience with that too, because I've worked clinically with families for so long. So let's use that parenting example, but please keep the mind open for how this might apply in other settings and with other people, okay, because the principles are consistent. But let's go back to a teenager, for example, and let's say that mom and dad are concerned about the kids' grades, for example. Whose list is that on? Kids. Parents don't control that. I had one mom say, oh, well, so am I just supposed to let him fail? What do you mean, let him? As if you have that power, right? Mom and dad are concerned about the grades. What's the kid concerned about? Apparently not the grades, or at least he's kind of happy with where they are. Or if he's not doing anything about it. But he's the only one who can control that. Are we on the same page with that so far? What is the kid concerned about? Well, let's pick something from mom and dad's list that they control, okay? Do you remember when I gave you the little heads up to what we provide? That's something we always control. Oh, and by the way, with your kids, I got to throw this in because ethically I kind of need to do this. There are 5 freebies. There are 5 things that your kids are entitled to because they're your kids. Not 50 things like they think. 5. Number 1 is love. Don't mess with it. Okay, you love your kids no matter what and even if. Are we good with that? Number 2 air. I know, you don't provide air to them, but you have no business depriving them of it. And it's sad that I have to even mention this, but I had a client who did about 7 years at the point of the mountain in our prison because her daughter died. You gotta have air, okay? You have no business depriving them of that. Air is a freebie. Are we clear? Number 3, water. Freebie. 4, food. And I don't mean preferred food. I mean sustain life. I mean keep the belly button away from the backbone. You can't take food away from your kids. What kind of food you provide to them? That's another conversation we could have. Number 5, shelter. And in our society, that includes appropriate clothing. Notice that shelter doesn't always mean a luxurious bedroom that's private to them. That's not required, but shelter is, okay? So we can have a lot of latitude outside of that. 5 freebies, don't get a mess with those. Everything else, negotiable. You with me? In this transaction with the child, rather than getting into a control battle about the grades, what should the parents focus on? What they control, right? What they provide. Are they providing anything outside of those 5 freebies that this kid might be interested in maintaining? Oh yeah, telecommunications came to mind immediately for this particular family because this kid had a cell phone. A lot of kids that age do, but they can't afford it themselves. Who's providing it? The parents. Do they have to? It's not on the list of 5. So instead of getting into a control battle over the grades, mom and dad are going to pick their issues and they're going to get into a control battle over whether or not they provide the cell phone. You follow? Now it's just a transaction and it's all business. Little heads up, take the emotion out of the discipline and get it all focused on a business transaction. Put the emotion into your relationship because your job is to love your kids no matter what and even if. Interesting little side note, that's probably your job with people at work and in the community too. How does this play out? What if you're the teenager? What if you're the teenager, you're watching this video and you're like, Dr. Paul, man, you're making my life harder. No. Not at all. You want something on your parents' list? Control something on your list and make a deal, okay? You get on your grades because what if the parents come up and say, hey, you know what? We're not going to fight you over the grades. You keep your grades above a B average. We provide cell phone coverage. Any questions? Really? Can it be that simple? Well, maybe it is. And then everybody's focusing on their own thing. Do you see how that works? So remember, avoid them. If you can't avoid them, win them. And you do that by picking the issues and pick something that's on your list every time. How to deal with a control freak. Hopefully that gives you some good practical ways to approach this with that one that you're dealing with. If you're new here, be sure to subscribe right there, and I'll see you tomorrow.